She was just a schoolteacher in a bright yellow dress, and he was a cold-hearted CEO used to silence and skyscrapers. One unexpected dance changed everything, but when a buried family secret is uncovered, it threatens to destroy the one real connection they never saw coming. If you're new to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and let us know in the comments, where in the world are you watching from? Now let's jump into the story. Nina Hartley never liked big parties. Crowds made her nervous. Fancy dresses made her feel like she was playing dress-up. But today wasn't about her, it was about her best friend Layla getting married. So she stood still in her sunflower yellow dress, trying not to fidget, trying not to feel out of place. The wedding was being held at Whitmore Manor, a grand estate just outside of Bath. Everything about it screamed elegance, white roses everywhere, string quartets in the corners, waiters with trays full of champagne. And then there was Nina, clutching her small handbag like it was a lifeline, avoiding the glances of perfectly dressed guests who whispered about who was who. She looked around the ballroom, her eyes landing on tall crystal chandeliers and tables with gold trim. She'd never been anywhere like this. Back in her regular life, Nina taught art at a local primary school in a small neighborhood on the edge of town. Her students used markers with dried tips and shared sketchbooks held together with tape. She spent her evenings grading drawings and working side jobs just to afford basic supplies. She'd only bought this yellow dress because it was on sale, cheerful, affordable, and just formal enough to pass. Across the ballroom, Julius Darrow stared at his untouched glass of sparkling water. His suit was expensive, his shoes polished. Everything about him said power and control. But inside, he felt out of place too, only for different reasons. Julius was the CEO of Darrow Holdings, a major investment company known for its cold efficiency. He was used to boardrooms, not ballrooms. His cousin, now husband, had begged him to come. Just smile. Just show up. You're part of the family, for heaven's sake. He had shown up, but smiling felt like lying. Julius. His mother called out across the crowd. He flinched slightly. She appeared with a firm grip on someone else's wrist. Come now, stop sulking. I found you a dance partner. Before he could argue, she'd all but shoved a young woman toward him, a woman in a bright yellow dress who looked like she'd rather be anywhere else. Their eyes met for the first time. I'm Nina, she said quickly, pushing her glasses up her nose. Her voice was quiet but not weak. He nodded. Julius. An awkward silence followed. The music shifted to a slow tune. He offered his hand, unsure why he was doing it. She placed hers in his, equally unsure. They moved stiffly to the dance floor, both clearly uncomfortable. I don't usually do this, Nina muttered. Neither do I. You look like you'd rather be in a meeting, she added, surprising even herself. Julius blinked. Then, for the first time that night, he smiled, just slightly. That obvious? Painfully, she said, the corners of her mouth lifting. They moved together slowly, their steps a little clumsy, but not unpleasant. Julius noticed her glasses slipping again. Her shoes weren't designer, her makeup was soft and simple. She wasn't like the polished women who usually filled events like this. And that was oddly refreshing. You're not from this world, are you? He asked quietly. Nina tilted her head. Nope, just a teacher in the real one. What do you teach? Art. At a primary school, nothing glamorous. But I love it. That last part came with a kind of confidence that surprised him. He couldn't remember the last time someone talked about their job with love. Let me guess, she said, tilting her head. You do something with numbers and big desks and very few windows. He chuckled. That's accurate. She grinned. Must be nice. Sometimes, sometimes not. Their steps slowed even more. Around them, guests danced smoothly, elegantly. But Julius and Nina moved like they were learning the steps of something brand new, not just a waltz, but a moment. Neither expected. "You didn't want to dance with me," she said suddenly. Not accusingly, just, "True. I didn't plan to dance with anyone." "Well, at least your mother seems determined." Julius gave a small laugh. "She's a force of nature." When the song ended, Nina stepped back. "Thank you. I think that's enough social bravery for one night." She didn't wait for a compliment. She didn't give him her number. She didn't even ask for his last name. She just nodded and disappeared into the crowd. Julius stood there for a moment, watching the space she'd just left. There was something real about her. She didn't try to impress. She didn't ask about his company. She hadn't even flinched. At his name. And in a room full of glitter, she had somehow shined the brightest. Back at his quiet corner, he found himself scanning the room again and again. Not for business contacts, not for clients, just for a glimpse of yellow. Later that night, as the wedding wound down and guests waved goodbye, Julius watched the door, waiting. But Nina had already gone. No goodbye. No second dance. And yet, she stayed with him, in the echo of their conversation. In the way she'd looked at him, not as a company, not as a title, but as someone who could still be worth knowing. The dance had ended. But something had just begun. 3 days had passed since the wedding, and Julius Darrow had not been himself. He still wore the same sharp suits. He still walked the same halls of his glass-walled office tower in central London. But something was different. Every conversation with his board members, every spreadsheet filled with profits and predictions, it all felt dull, hollow. In his quiet corner office, high above the city, Julius stared out the window but didn't really see anything. Not the skyline, not the moving cars below. His thoughts kept circling back to the woman in the yellow dress. Nina. He didn't even know her last name. Their dance had been brief, but unlike anything he was used to. It hadn't been charming or smooth. It had been honest, real. She hadn't cared about his last name or the money it came with. She had just talked to him, person to person. That shouldn't have been rare, but it was. "Mr. Darrow?" His assistant's voice came through the speaker. "Yes? Your 10 o'clock is waiting. I'll be there in a minute." He opened his laptop, searching through the wedding guest list his mother had sent him before the event. After a few clicks and guesses, he found it. Nina Hartley. Next to her name, primary school teacher. Southmere Primary. That was enough. He looked up the school and found their official art page. There she was, Nina, in a photo with children holding up messy, joyful paintings. She looked different than she had at the wedding. No makeup, hair pulled back. But she was smiling, and the smile was brighter than any chandelier. Before he could stop himself, he clicked on a link that led to the school's Instagram account. There were snapshots of students' drawings, projects made from recycled materials, even a few short videos of classroom laughter. The kind of joy money couldn't buy. He hesitated for a long moment before clicking message. His fingers hovered over the keys. He typed, "Hi Nina, it's Julius from the wedding. I hope this isn't too forward, but I really enjoyed our conversation. Would you like to get coffee sometime?" He read the message 5 times before pressing send. Immediately, his stomach turned. What was he doing? She probably had no interest in hearing from him. Maybe she'd forgotten the dance entirely. He closed the tab and tried to return to his meeting, but 20 minutes later, his phone buzzed. Nina Hartley, Julius Darrow? The man who looked like he was solving a corporate crisis on the dance floor. That's a surprise. He stared at the screen, then smiled. Really smiled. He typed back quickly, "Julius, I deserve that." "But yes, that's me." Her typing bubble appeared, then disappeared. Then came back again. "Nina, why me?" Julius paused. The truth was simpler than he expected. "Julius, because that conversation with you was the only real one I had all night. I haven't been able to stop thinking about it. The reply came faster this time. Nina, there's a cafe on Temple Street called The Nook. Saturday, 10 a.m., I'll be grading papers, so I can't stay long. He read her message twice before replying. With a simple, see you there, Nina Hartley arrived 15 minutes early, second-guessing herself every second. Why had she said yes? It had taken her hours to pick out what to wear. She'd settled on jeans, ankle boots, and a navy blouse with tiny white paint stains on the cuffs, reminders of her week at school. She wasn't going to pretend to be someone else for him. If Julius only liked the ballroom version of her, then this meeting would be quick. She spotted him the moment he walked in. Tall, tidy, and still a little too put together for a place that served oat milk lattes in chipped mugs. But when he saw her, his face relaxed. No practiced smile. Just a genuine look of relief. You came, she said when he reached the table. Did you think I wouldn't? Nina raised an eyebrow. People like you usually have assistants cancel things like this. People like me? He repeated, sliding into the chair across from her. Rich guys who send surprising messages and then remember they have a yacht meeting or something. He laughed. A real surprised laugh. No yachts today, just you. They ordered drinks, coffee for him, chai latte for her, and fell into conversation more easily than either expected. They talked about her students, how she often used her own money to buy them supplies. Julius asked thoughtful questions, the kind that came from listening, not just waiting to talk. Nina asked about his childhood, and he admitted he hadn't drawn anything since he was 10, but used to love sketching buildings. Do you ever miss that part of yourself? She asked softly. I think I buried it, he said. But lately, maybe not as deep as I thought. An hour passed. Then another. Outside the cafe, clouds had gathered, and soft rain had started to fall. I have a weekend art session tomorrow, Nina said as she stood to leave. The school stays open for kids who want extra help. If you want to see where I work, it's nothing fancy, but you're welcome. Julius didn't hesitate. I'd like that. As Nina walked away under her umbrella, he watched her go, feeling something he hadn't felt in a very long time. Hope. It had started with a single dance. Now it was becoming something he never expected, something real. Nina hadn't expected Julius to actually show up that Saturday. But there he was on time, dressed more casually than she'd ever seen him, holding 2 cups of takeaway tea and looking just slightly unsure of himself. The school was quiet, its usual weekday noise replaced by the soft hum of weekend programs. The art room smelled like paint, paper, and something familiar. Possibility. As Nina walked in through the space, past handmade posters and shelves full of student art, Julius looked around with quiet amazement. This isn't much, she said, with a small smile, but it's everything to them. He watched her interact with her students, offering advice, encouragement, and the kind of kindness that couldn't be taught. She bent down to help a little girl blend colors for a sunset painting. The girl grinned up at her like she was a superhero. You're good with them, Julius said. I try to be, Nina replied, brushing paint off her jeans. No part of this day felt forced. They laughed, they shared stories. For the first time they were in her world, and it felt surprisingly natural. But later that evening, something changed. It happened at the school fundraiser. Parents, teachers, and local supporters filled the school gym, decorated with streamers and student art. Julius had surprised her by showing up, helping set up tables, and even buying a piece of student work to support the fundraiser. Nina had started to believe something real was building between them. Then, she overheard a conversation near the snack table. That's him, one parent whispered. The man from Darrow Holdings. The same company that ruined half the businesses around here? Another asked. My dad lost his job when they bought out the garage on Lavender Road, the first replied. Never recovered. Company just took the land and sold it off. Nina froze. Lavender Road. That was where her father had worked. The auto shop he gave 30 years of his life to. The one that was sold, shut down, and left him unemployed at 57. It had changed everything, led to years of financial struggle. The loss of their home, and her mother's stress-induced health crisis. And now, Julius? She turned and looked at him across the room. He was laughing politely with a group of teachers, unaware of the storm building behind her eyes. Her feet moved before her mind could catch up. "Can we talk?" she said sharply as she reached him. Julius looked surprised. Of course. She pulled him outside into the empty hallway, heart pounding. "Your company," she said, voice tight. "Darrow Holdings. It bought out the auto shop on Lavender Road 10 years ago." His face changed. Slowly, his eyes flickered with recognition. Then guilt. "Nina, did you know? I didn't connect it until last week." You knew last week?" He hesitated. "I found the old files, your name. It triggered something. I checked my father's records. That shop, your father's shop, it was part of a property acquisition. I didn't know until after you visited my classroom," she said. "After you messaged me, and you didn't say anything. I didn't know how to tell you." Nina stepped back, her hands shaking. "You should have told me. The moment you realized, you let me invite you into my school. You smiled at those kids knowing full well your company helped tear apart our community. I wasn't even part of the company back then. My father made those decisions. But you're part of it now." They stood there, the hallway silent except for the soft hum of lights. "I trusted you," she whispered. "I didn't mean to hurt you, Nina. I didn't know. And when I did, I froze. I thought if I explained it right, if I gave you time, you thought wrong." She turned, walking away before he could say more. Outside, the air was cold. Tears filled her eyes as she walked to her car, anger and grief twisting together inside her chest. The pain wasn't just from what his company had done. It was the betrayal of silence. The way he held the truth in his hands and chose not to share it. At home, she sat in the dark, surrounded by old photos of her father smiling in his work uniform, proud of the life he built. A life that vanished in the blink of a deal he didn't see coming. She thought about Julius's eyes. The guilt there. The regret. But she also thought about what he hadn't done. He hadn't been honest when it mattered. Back in his penthouse, Julius sat at his desk, staring at the open file on his laptop. Old papers, reports, and signatures. His father's name on every page. He read through it again, how the employees were let go, how the company took the land, how no one cared about what was left behind. He'd always known his father was ruthless in business. But this wasn't just numbers. This was her life, her father, her story, and he had been silent. He closed the file and stared at his reflection in the window. "I have to fix this," he said to himself, not for redemption, not to win her back, but because someone had to make it right. 2 weeks had passed since. Nina walked away from Julius in the school hallway. She hadn't replied to his messages. She hadn't mentioned him to anyone, not even her mother. But his silence had been replaced with something else. Actions. First, there was the envelope that arrived at her mother's house. Inside was a letter and a printed record of what Julius had found. The buyout deal, the missing pension money, and an apology typed simply but sincerely. Attached was a bank statement. The exact amount her father should have received when the shop closed down. With interest. Her mother, usually cautious and guarded, had only said he didn't have to do this, but he did. Still, Nina didn't know what to think. Then came the donations. The school received brand new art supplies, quality brushes, paints, easels. No note, just a simple card that read, "For the artists of tomorrow." The local clinic received new equipment. The library across from the school had its roof replaced, one after another. The pieces of a once broken community were slowly being put back together. And no one knew who was behind it. But Nina did. She never said anything aloud. She just watched. Watched how the people around her began to feel seen again, valued. Still, she held back. Because even kind actions didn't erase pain overnight. One rainy Thursday, her mother handed her a note. "He came to see me again," she said. "Didn't ask for anything. Just wanted to say thank you for raising you." Nina's throat tightened. That evening, she stood in her classroom, the shelves now full of fresh materials. Her students had never been happier. Their energy, their joy, it reminded her why she chose this life, and why it mattered that someone like Julius had chosen to help, even when he had nothing to gain from it. She didn't forgive easily. But something in her heart had softened. She sent him a message. "Nina, I saw what you did. I'm not ready to forget everything. But I'm ready to talk." His reply came quickly. "Julius, anytime. Any place." They met at the same cafe on Temple Street, where they had once shared stories and laughter. The same table, different air. Nina arrived first. Julius walked in moments later, no suit this time, just a gray sweater and a hopeful look. "Hi," he said. "Hi." He sat across from her, nervous, but steady. "You've been busy," she said. "I didn't know what else to do," he admitted. "I couldn't change the past, but I wanted to show you. I meant what I said. I want to be better." Nina looked at him carefully. He didn't look like the man she had danced with at the wedding. He looked more human now. Less polished. More real. "You never once said you were doing it for me," she said. "And that's why it mattered." "I wasn't," Julius replied. "Not just for you." The more I looked into what the company had done, the more I realized my father hurt a lot of people. People who deserved more. People like your family. He paused. "I've started changing things at Darrow Holdings. We've launched a community trust fund. We're investing in rebuilding what we helped damage. It's not enough, but it's a start." Nina took a slow breath. "I don't expect perfection," she said quietly. "But I do expect honesty." "No more secrets," Julius promised. They sat in silence for a moment, the soft clinking of cups filling the space between them. "I miss talking to you," she said finally. "So did I." Nina smiled just a little. "Would you like to see something?" He nodded. A week later, Julius stood in front of an empty lot just a few blocks from the school. Weeds covered the ground. The remains of an old building still peeked through the cracks. "This used to be the local art center," Nina said, joining him. "It was torn down when the land was sold. No one ever built anything new." Julius looked at her, then at the land. "What if we changed that?" He opened a folder he'd been holding. Inside were drawings, plans, a design for a new community art center, open workshops, classrooms, galleries, all created with input from local teachers and residents. "I don't want to build something for this community," he said. "I want to build it with them, with you." Nina ran her fingers over the plans, her eyes soft. "It's beautiful." "It's yours," he said. "Ours, if you want it." 1 year later, the doors of the Hartley Darrow Community Art Center opened. Stood proudly in the heart of the neighborhood, full of light, laughter, and color. Children painted murals on the walls. Teens held poetry slams on Friday nights. Families came to watch performances in the open air. Garden stage. And at the entrance stood a sculpture, a dancer in a sunflower yellow dress. A tribute to the moment everything changed. At the center's opening night, Nina walked through the gallery in a soft blue dress, stopping to admire her students' work. Near the back, she spotted him. Julius, standing quietly, watching her with the same expression he'd worn that very first dance. Curiosity, respect, admiration. She walked up to him. "Still don't like parties?" she teased. He smiled. "Still only dance with you." As music played, they joined the small crowd in the center of the room, dancing slowly beneath string lights and painted banners. Around them, life moved on, full of sound, color, And second chances. They didn't need promises of perfection, just a shared space. And the belief that sometimes, the best things begin when you least expect them, where the lights shine brighter. Not because they are grand, but because they're real.